So you ever bump into someone who's just off? Like, they're saying stuff that's out of left field or acting like they just beamed down from planet Zagnut. Now, you might figure they're just a few cards short of a full deck, but here's the kicker. INFJs, see, they're like pros at acting weird. And trust me, it ain't as random as it looks. They're doing it on purpose, see? And here's the real zinger. This whole weirdness gig, it ain't just some quirky personality tick. Nah, it's a straight-up Jedi mind trick that works for them way more than you'd think. So today, we're going deep, see? We're diving into why these INFJs are using this psycho strategy and how it's given them a real edge in their personal lives, their social lives, everything. Stick around, because by the end of this little chat, you're going to get why acting weird is actually one of their biggest power plays. First off, these INFJs use like weirdness to, stand out so they can be heard. INFJs are usually the ones you don't notice at first, right? They're not the loudest in the room, they don't want the spotlight, and they're never like the center of attention. But here's the thing, they don't even want to be. INFJs use their weirdness as a secret weapon. It's like a deliberate psychological strategy to stand out from the crowd, and they totally know how to wield it. In a world that's filled with noise and everyone's trying to be heard, INFJs get that being different is their superpower. So instead of blending in, they embrace their quirks, their oddities, and their unique perspectives. They know that when you act outside the norm, people just gotta notice. It's like setting off a mental alarm. Wait, what was that? Who is that? And boom, the INFJs got your attention. But let's dig a bit deeper, huh? When INFJs act weird, it's not random. It's like carefully calculated. They've learned over time that if they don't stand out, their voice can easily be drowned out. It's not that they're seeking attention just for the sake of it. They don't crave fame or praise, but rather they get the psychological power of being memorable. INFJs know that when they act differently, they capture attention in a way that opens doors for them to speak, to share their ideas, and to ultimately influence others. Look, think about it. You got a bunch of people all yapping the same thing, you're going to get lost in the shuffle. But when an INFJ opens their mouth or does something a little sideways, people stop and take notice. Catches them off guard, yeah, but that's the whole point. Forces a reaction. People want to know more, right? And that's when INFJs get their moment. They know that sticking out is the only way to cut through the BS and actually get heard. And while they're at it, they get to share their 2 cents, sway a few minds, and maybe even shake up some perspectives in a way that feels, real. So, next time you see an INFJ doing something that seems a little out there, remember, they're not trying to be weird just for the sake of it. They're using their weirdness to stir up some feelings that gives them a stage to speak their truth, spit out their ideas, and leave a mark. And the best part? It always lands. All right, so check this out. Point number 2, they weaponize weirdness to build a fog of mystery around themselves. Ever notice how these INFJs, they don't even try, and suddenly they're shrouded in enigma? It's like they got this magnetic pull, and the more you're around them, the more you're scratching your head. Truth is, this whole weirdness thing, it's a calculated play to cultivate mystery. The more off the wall they act, the more people want to figure them out. It ain't just about being quirky for kicks. It's about shaping the narrative, controlling the perception, and I'm telling you, it's pure genius. INFJs, they're always lost in thought, dissecting feelings, concepts, and ideas on a level most can't even fathom. And this depth creates layers of complexity that make them seem elusive. Now, when they go all weird, it's like adding another layer to that onion. Leaves people wondering, what's cooking in that brain of theirs? What's the real deal? And it's this mystery that reels people in because they're dying to know more. This weirdness, it's not random. It's a strategic move to get you hooked on figuring them out. So, here's where it gets interesting, right? INFJs, they ain't just pulling this unpredictable act out of thin air to be quirky. Nah, they're using mystery like a freaking sledgehammer for influence. In a world where everyone's trying to be an open book, these INFJs are sharp enough to know that a little mystique is like having a freaking superpower. People, they're naturally drawn to the stuff they can't wrap their heads around. And INFJs, pros at keeping things out of reach. This whole allure of mystery, it forces others to lean in, pay attention, try to figure them out. And once they're hooked, bam, that's when the INFJs step in and drop their deepest thoughts. It's like an emotional puzzle. The weirder they act, the more you want to dig in to get them. INFJs, they know how to crank up that tension, and it's what makes them fascinating. They've cracked the code on the psychology of intrigue, because when people don't fully get them, they don't just bail, they get invested, start questioning stuff, analyzing the INFJ's every move, and end up connecting on a level deeper than they would with someone predictable. So next time you catch an INFJ acting weird, don't write it off as some random thing. It's part of their whole psychological game, a slick way to build intrigue, fire up curiosity, and make that connection that only those willing to look beneath the surface are ever going to get. Thirdly, they dodges the superficiality bullet by ditching the norm. So, INFJs, right? They're all about the deep thoughts and the feels, but here's a kicker nobody really talks about. These folks, they can't stand the shallow end of the pool. Like, they'd rather swim with sharks than wade in that kiddie stuff. And that's where their whole "what's up with this guy" vibe kicks in. By acting a little off, INFJs are basically putting up a velvet rope outside their nightclub. It's a filter, see? Keeps out the riffraff who just want to talk about the weather or, whatever's on TV. Now, they ain't trying to be jerks, all right? They're just trying to protect their own sanity. They know that if they want to find someone real, they got to send the phonies packing. So, when an INFJ gets a little weird, they're basically flashing a neon sign that says, "I'm closed for small talk." It's a head game, really, not some desperate attempt to be quirky. They're trying to dodge the bullet of another mind-numbing conversation that most people are stuck having. Think about it. How many times you tried starting a conversation and it just devolves into the same old yada yada? INFJs, they know that kind of thing's just emotionally draining and ultimately totally unfulfilling. So when they start acting a little, weird, they're making space from the superficial, opening the door for something deeper, something real. It's like they're giving folks a choice. Either get real with me or forget about connecting. This ain't about being a loner or pushing people away. Nah, it's the opposite, actually. INFJs, they do this because they're looking for that real connection, the one where everyone's showing their true selves without the BS. Their weirdness, it's an invite, not a "do not enter" sign. It's a subtle psychological trick that helps them find the ones who value depth over the surface. So, next time you run into an INFJ acting a little off, a little strange, just know, it's a signal. They're searching for something real. They want folks who'll meet them at that deeper level. And their weirdness, it's the filter they use to make sure they find those kind of connections. They ain't trying to stand out just for the sake of it. They're just making sure the people around them are worth their emotional energy. Fourthly, they weaponize their weirdness to guard their precious emotional mojo. INFJs? Yeah, those folks are basically emotional sponges. They soak up everyone else's feelings like it's their job, and sometimes, it's too much. That's where the whole weirdness thing comes in. It's like their own personal shield. See, these INFJs, they're super sensitive to the vibes around them. When the air's thick with bad mojo or everyone's on edge, they get zapped, like emotionally drained in a way most people couldn't even fathom. So what's their move? They go full on weird. But here's the kicker. It's not just random, it's a calculated risk to keep their emotional batteries from running dry. Picture this, you're stuck in a room where you could slice the tension with a butter knife, right? Now, imagine being an INFJ, dial into every little emotional tremor in the room. For them, it's like Niagara Falls of feelings crashing down on them. So when they start acting like they're from another planet, spacing out, or just saying stuff that's totally out there, it's their way of throwing up a force field to keep from getting swamped. This weirdness, it's their defense mechanism, a mental bouncer that keeps the emotional riffraff at bay. So INFJs, they know their emotions pack a punch, right? And they're real protective of their emotional state. So when they start acting a little sideways, it ain't just to mess with you, they're building a freaking buffer zone to keep their inner peace intact. Gives them the space they need to recharge and process everything without getting emotionally mugged by everyone else's feelings. It's like a silent little self-care routine. These INFJs know they can't be wide open and vulnerable all the time, or they'll just flatline. So by getting a little weird, they're hitting the pause button to recalibrate and get their emotional ducks in a row. It's like hitting the brakes before they get emotionally steamrolled. So next time you see an INFJ acting weird, don't sweat it, all right? It ain't personal. It doesn't mean they don't care about you or whatever. It's just how they protect their emotional mojo. It's a psychological hustle to make sure they can keep bringing their A game without totally losing it. It's their way of saying, hey, I gotta take care of me first so I can be there for you later. All right, moving on. Fifthly, acting a little screwy, it's a coping mechanism for The overwhelm. Look, life, it can be a real pain, am I right? Especially for you INFJs out there, with a deep empathy, the constant need for introspection, and that drive to help everyone. You're always taking on way too much at once. It's like emotional hoarding, and that leads to burnout faster than you can say therapy. So what do you do when things get to be too much? You get a little weird, and no, it ain't just for kicks. It's a psychological coping mechanism that helps you deal with the daily grind. Imagine being constantly tuned in to everyone's emotions, feeling their sadness, their joy, their anxiety, even their anger. For most people, that'd be exhausting, right? Well, for INFJs, it's just Tuesday. It's emotionally draining to take on that much. So when you start acting a little out there, zoning out, or saying stuff that's totally random, it's your way of detaching from the emotional circus and creating some breathing room. INFJs ain't just trying to be strange for the sake of it. They're using this behavior as a mental escape. Think of it as a way to regroup in a world that's always pulling at you. By disconnecting for a minute, you can regain control and recenter. It's like hitting the reset button before diving back into the emotional mosh pit. So in the middle of some crazy mess, you might see an INFJ just kind of step back, get all quirky, or just go completely silent. Now, don't take it personally. It ain't about you or what's going on. It's like a subconscious retreat. They're making a little space between themselves and all the drama, so they don't get totally fried. Their brain's basically saying, hold on a sec, gotta take 5 before I lose it. This whole thing also helps them keep their emotional space, you know? They've learned that if they're always plugged in without a break, they might just lose themselves in everyone else's feelings. So they use their special brand of weirdness as a mental kill switch, a way to keep their emotional act together and not get swallowed up by the chaos. It's like a built-in shield so they don't forget who they are in the middle of all the noise. So next time you see an INFJ acting a little off or disappearing into their own head, don't think they're giving you the cold shoulder. It's really just their way of making sure they don't lose themselves in this crazy world. And really, it's the best way for them to keep their emotional batteries charged and keep on trucking. Sixthly, they go weird to build authentic relationships. INFJs ain't just acting weird to stand out. They're doing it because they want real, deep connections. Let's face it, in a world full of surface-level interactions, INFJs refuse to settle for anything less than genuine relationships. And here's the psychological trick they use. By being weird, they invite authenticity. INFJs know that if they act like everyone else, they're just blending in with the crowd. Instead, they embrace their quirks and idiosyncrasies because they want to attract people who will love them for who they really are. When INFJs act outside the norm, it's their way of creating space for authenticity. They don't want to waste time with people who can't appreciate their true selves. By being different, they weed out those who are only looking for shallow interactions. It's like an unspoken invitation. If you can handle my weirdness, you might be someone worth getting to know. They're filtering out the fake and leaving room for the real deep connections they crave. Whoa, that's deep, right? So look, INFJs, they're no dummies, right? They get that any relationship built on like some kind of fake front or trying to be Mr. Popular, it's gonna go belly up. It's the real, the raw, the totally unfiltered stuff that gets them going. By letting their freak flag fly, they're giving other folks a shot to see them for real. No masks, no phoniness, and that takes guts. It's like saying, yeah, this is me, deal with it. And I'm looking for someone who ain't gonna run for the hills. This whole be yourself thing, weirdness, and all, that's the secret sauce to why INFJs got the best relationships. People who dig them for who they really are, those are the ones who become their ride or dies. INFJs, they got this built-in BS detector. Their weirdness keeps the phonies away and makes sure only the real ones get past the velvet rope. And that's why, once you're in with an INFJ, it's like winning the lottery. That connection, it's gonna be one of the realest, most awesome things you'll ever have. So next time you see an INFJ doing their thing, being a little out there, remember, they ain't trying to ditch you. It's just their way of saying, come on in, the water's fine. Let's get real and build something that ain't just skin deep. They know that being true to themselves is the only way to find the folks who'll really get them. So there you have it. If you've ever wondered why INFJs do the things they do, now you know the truth behind their strategy. Drop a comment below if you've ever experienced this INFJ weirdness firsthand. And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who needs to understand the INFJ genius. See ya in the next one.